Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to Tillis Tells Stories for Saturday night. The title of this week's video is The Third Eye and the Three Blessings. I first composed this story after the first yortzeit of the Tzfat Navona Rebbe in 2001, when my friend Raphael told it to me. I extensively revised it in honor of the 20th yortzeit, 4 years ago, with much help from both Rosen and Noach Bittelman, both of whom are featured in the story. Subsequently, I included it in the first of my 3-volume Full Moon Stories series. Shortly before Passover in 1995, when Dr. Raphael Rosen married his wife Adina, an old friend of his from the States attended his wedding. Noach Biederman was also a medical practitioner, an acupuncturist, who was visiting Israel at the time. When he first came, he didn't know about his friend's wedding plans, but when he found out, he was happy to participate in the celebration. At the wedding, Noach had the opportunity to meet the then Nadvorner Banya Rebbe of Sfat. He was very impressed, but regretted not being able to communicate with him, as he spoke neither Hebrew nor Yiddish, nor for that matter, Romanian or Hungarian. It was the Rebbe who had influenced Rosen 15 years earlier to leave his medical practice in Oklahoma and make Aliyah. Rabbi Aharon-Leib of the Nadvorner Rebbe of Sfat for 52 years, until his passing in the year 2000 on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which is this Thursday night, Friday, was born in Banya, Romania, a descendant of the famous Galician dynasty of Nadvorner Rebbes. He moved to Israel shortly after the War of Liberation in 1948. Although he had lost an entire family in the Holocaust, he remarried to his deceased wife's sister and started a whole new family, including 5 sons and a daughter. Legendary in Sfat for his hospitality and kindness to those in need, his home and shul were a center for Jews of all brands. Beloved equally by Hasidim, Sephardim, and Ashkenazim, by Europeans, Israelis, and Americans, his death a little before or after the age of 90 marked the end of an era in Sfat. Noach stayed on in Sfat for a few days after the wedding and went together with Raphael to Rabbi Leifer's shul for the last Shabbat before Passover, called Shabbat Hagadol. Rabbi Leifer gave Noach the great honor of being called to the Torah for the Kohen Aliyah. After the conclusion of the prayers, Raphael and Noach stayed on for the Kiddush reception, which of course featured Rebbe's and Leifer's world-famous cholet. The Rebbe made Kiddush and passed the cup to Noach. Raphael, he later reported to Noach that after that sip, he had immediately felt a spinning sensation in the area where the third eye is supposed to be, in the center of one's forehead. Rabbi Leifer began asking Noach some questions about his plans, if he was married, where he lived, what his travel plans were. Raphael translated his answers from English to Hebrew. Rabbi Leifer then gave Noach 3 blessings. 1, that he should stay in Israel for Pesach. 2, that he should get married. And that he should live in Sfat. Noach protested that he needed to be back to spend the Pesach Seder with his family, and already had plans to fly back before Passover. To his surprise, Raphael refused to translate his protests, saying that either Noach would heed the Rebbe's advice or not, as he chose. But by no means would he help him to oppose the Rebbe's words. The Rebbe somehow understood anyway. He smiled and said he could not argue with that type of a mitzvah. Kibud av v'em, honor your father and mother. Man proposes, God disposes, as they say, based on Proverbs 19:21, and also Psalms 33, verses 10 to 11. Just a day or two before his scheduled departure, while in Jerusalem, Noach became engaged to Tamar, whom he had first met back in California. Since Noach had just become engaged, and his kala was going to be in Israel for Pesach, Noach didn't feel right about leaving right away and being separated from his new kala on the holiday. So he delayed his trip, stayed through both Seder nights, since they were both visiting Israel at the time, and then flew back to the USA to be with his family for the rest of the festival, thereby fulfilling the first blessing of of being in Israel for the Pesach, or at least for the Seders. Some month later, Noach and Tamar were married in Northern California, thereby fulfilling the second blessing, to get married. And they decided to spend the first year of their marriage in Israel. Shortly after they were married, they moved to Israel and tried to find an apartment to live in Jerusalem. But each time they thought they found an appropriate place, something happened to cancel the rental. This happened again and again, so that after a month of frustration, they decided to take a few days off from house hunting and go to Sfat in order to take off the pressure and consider the next move. But then, while they're in Sfat, all the doors opened for them, and they realized that this was where they were supposed to be. They soon rented a place and ended up living in Sfat, completing the fulfillment of the third blessing, to live in Sfat. The following Shabbat HaGadol, Noach went to speak to Rabbi Leifer again. By this time, he was able to manage in Hebrew by himself. He related to the Rebbe the story of all that had transpired over the course of the year, and expressed his amazement and delight at the series of seeming coincidences that had so quickly and dramatically altered his life, filling the exact details of the Rebbe's three blessings. "But you had a blessing," the Nadvorna responded offhandedly. "Why are you surprised? Why should a blessing take so long to manifest?" Have a great week, everyone. And by the way, to add a personal note, in 1983, Rabbi Leifer was the sandak at my firstborn son Brit Milah circumcision ceremony. Shavua Tov.